another beautiful day on the porch.
It is surreal. If we could put a bag around this and just open it up a little bit, like in the winter, just to remember days like this exist.
Yeah, I mean, we just had the freight train run by, so another one.
We should be good for about 7 minutes, and then 5:15 will come through.
So we're trying to figure out what to talk about, and you're talking about something about Magic Kate.
Yes. Yes. I had gone, for all you guys marking your calendar, I had gone over Labor Day weekend up to Minneapolis, St. Paul. Did a couple days work, and then I went to the state fair, the Minneapolis State Fair. I'd gone really to see some friend of mine's daughter goes. She's in her junior year at Minnesota. We ended up at the state fair, and here in Illinois we have the butter cow sculpting competition, and so a guy sits in there, freezing cold room with a huge block of butter, and he carves a cow. And in Minnesota, I was kind of expecting a cow, but no, they have this thing called Princess K of the Milky Way, and there are 8 finalists. This is a big one.
Wow, we didn't even make it 7 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, this isn't a freight, though. You guys may not hear
that's the Superliner. That's going downstate. That's not a... Oh, it is a commuter line. I thought it was the good train. Anyway, Princess K of the Milky Way, they have 8 female finalists, just like a beauty pageant, and each one gets to put on their winter coat, their North Face, and sit inside the freezing cold chamber as the artist carves their face in a block of butter. And apparently they do one a day, and so we had missed the 9 a.m. carving or whatever. The woman was still there. Her head was still there on a rotating basis. It kind of goes around like on a Lazy Susan. And then apparently the winners in recent years have, once you're nominated, you go shopping for a refrigerator or a deep freezer to hold the head because it can never get to room temperature. It'll melt. So it must be kept frozen. Yeah. So all these winners now have a small deep freezer with their 50-pound butter block of their head.
And
forever
they keep this.
Yes.
This is something that you buy a freezer for.
Apparently so. I don't know when you would ever. I guess of course, it's Minnesota, so you probably pull it out in about November and sit it on your porch. You could probably put it in about May, and it might still be freezing.
Yeah, I remember we stopped by the New York State Fair once on our way home, and there was definitely butter carving. But of course, the thing that they're known for is the food things, the
food on a stick. Yes, we did many sticks of food, and
we had the deep battered fried Oreos.
Ooh.
We had the pork sandwich, which was literally a pound of pork on a sandwich.
Yeah, they didn't have.
And my son ordered one, and I ordered one, and I ate mine, and my son had like 3 bites that I can't finish, so I had 2.
Well. You've got the metabolism. I was not very cautious about what was going in. So at one point, there was a little bit of conflict internally, not mentally, but physically. There was like, whoa, what was that? The big thing, and again, it sounds so unstate fair-like. I think it's called Lady Missy's chocolate chip cookies or something. They bake them fresh. And literally... if you got a bucket of cookies, it's an entire pan of chocolate chip cookies right out of the oven. These things are like gooey, movie things, but it's a bucket of them. So the bucket's like $8, and I defy you to just have one. So people had to look at their face like, I really should have just gotten the small little cone of them. Yeah. Why did I eat 80 chocolate chip cookies? Yeah, because they're warm and they're delicious. And then I had corn. I had a candy bar
in melted butter, so it's like soaking in butter.
That was good, actually. You could get it without the butter. I had a candy bar on a stick.
Was it deep fried?
Yes.
Candy bar on a stick?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I had, of course, there was the interesting. The kids I went, kids. One's a college grad from Purdue, the other one's a junior in college. Anyway, the one from Purdue wanted to see a big pig. So we started out the pig house, 1,300-pounder. I contended there's actually this movie called Keiju or something like that about this giant pig. But anyway, I contended that this is an animated pig because at 1,300 pounds, I don't really see him standing. Like the capacity to stand seemed to be like his gut would be dragging on the ground. So he just kind of laid there. And I said, how do you get to 1,300 pounds if you can't stand in there?
Now,
I think they force
there's
feed
been
them.
pigs bigger than that. When I took my
sure.
animal science course back at U of I and back in my pre-vet days, they used to use pigs as draft animals. They would pull carts.
Wow.
So they had a 2,000-pound pig pulling a cart. The thing was as big as the cart. It was huge. It was a mountain of meat.
But was his legs big enough? Did his belly drag on the ground?
No, his belly did not
See,
drag on the
this
ground.
pig, the legs did not look long enough to. And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. I go, I think this pig laid down and they injected him with all this to get him to the proper weight because I don't think he got there on his own. I think this is a doctored up pig. I don't think this was natural.
Well, from what I understand, they'll keep growing and growing, these domesticated ones, and they'll get quite big. They're not like the wild pigs. I guess maybe they're
We did
limited
see, and then we saw some big cattle, and then we saw an 1,100-pound pumpkin. And the pumpkin guy was kind of animated because he said 5 years ago he was standing on that side of the aisle. He was a visitor to the state fair, and he got into hybrid pumpkin making, and now he was the pumpkin champion 5 years later.
My gosh.
It was rather sexy to see an 1,100-pound pumpkin because they were actually bred not just for the color. I know, another train. Not just for the color, but for the size and the ribs. Now you think the ribs is a genetic marker, I guess.
Okay.
So because if you don't have it all, if you don't have you have to have the size. Obviously, you have to have the right color. And you have to have the ribs, so it looks like a pumpkin. It doesn't look like a beach ball. So this guy was showing us a picture of, because his pumpkin was very pumpkin. He was very, very orange. He said that he was hybrid off of some pumpkin. It looked fluorescent orange, and that's what he cleaved these two pieces together and made this killer pumpkin. And then there was, the flowers and the horses and the goats and the chickens. And a lot of rides, a lot of interesting, supposedly, not a lot of free giveaways.
Well, you did have the whole tent or building filled with all the demonstrations of the products, right?
Yes,
the Vitamix, the anti-fog stuff.
Apparently, that must be. They must make a mountain of money off of those people paying to be at the state fair.
I was transfixed when I was a kid by those demonstrations of nonstick pans.
Yeah. This guy had a
anti-fogging stuff for your glasses.
This guy was giving a big spiel about this stovetop grill that uses water and steam. And I have one of these things. I bought it at American Science and Surplus for $10. This guy's price was like $70. I'm like, yeah. It works. Actually, it works really well. You don't think it would?
Steams the food.
Yeah, but because you put it on your stovetop, that's incredibly high steam. So it is like a grill. Okay. You're going to get grill marks on it and stuff. It's that hot. It heats that metal up.
Wow.
Amazingly hot, but it's all water based. So when the water's gone, the thrill is gone.
No smoke alarm going off or anything like
correct. That. Correct. And I thought, and when I looked at the box, I said, "There's no way this is going to work." It works really stinking well. I just haven't used it a lot. But yeah, no, Minnesota was it was magnificent. And then we had a lot of there was 4 of us there, 3 women and myself, and we'd eaten a fair amount of bad stuff along the way. I got really hot. It was like 90 degrees out, so I kept having these lemonade attacks, and I was very dehydrated. So we actually went out for salad after we left the state fair. We said we got to get on the right track because we didn't eat. I wouldn't say we ate like horribly.
It totally cancels everything out.
Well, so there was a foot-long hot dog. There is a foot-long version of the corn dog, and I thought, well, that corn dog can't be all that healthy. Not that the hot dog wasn't, but I just need a hot dog. And then when you went by the dairy bar, they had a glass of chocolate milk. That was the freshest chocolate milk I'd ever had. And you figured that glass was $1, and I'm paying $8 essentially for like maybe a 40-ounce drink later. I should just gone and got 5 chocolate milks. I would have been fine. So it was fun. It was not something you do normally, and that's part of the thing about summer. You should always find something you haven't done before or in a long time. Just go do it.
Yeah.
And
state fairs are fun. I remember going to, I think it was the Illinois State Fair when we were kids. They had a smash-up derby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, and that usually, now it's all, that being night's entertainment, there's a lot of music and stuff.
Yeah,
I went to the Illinois State Fair like maybe 10, 15 years ago. I just drove down there. I thought I'd spend overnight, spend 2 days at the fair. I was done in 5 hours. Because if it's up to me, I can walk really fast and go deny anything. Well, this was actually a little bit of discipline on my part. I had to listen to the wishes of others and just went along for the walk. It was a heck of a walk, like 10 miles probably.
Yeah.
But we didn't do any of the kiddie rides. But, yeah, we sat through the floral exhibits. Oh, and then there's the thing where they use seeds, and they make modern art with seeds.
Ah.
Very, very, the time it must take those people to put those things together.
Beautiful.
Crazy. But, yeah, it was good. It was, 6 hours away, so I don't remember a whole lot about my drive home the next day.
It was the next day, though. It wasn't that night, so that's good.
Yeah, no, a younger version of me would have probably done that.
Yes.
I would have gone, you know what? It's only 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock at night after dinner. I'll just start heading home. I'll be fine. And I would have made it about 20 minutes on the road. I'd have slept somewhere in downtown Minneapolis.
I remember driving down to Colorado State University from U of I. It's a 20-hour drive, and we, 20-somethings just going through, and we'll just drive through. We'll just take turns sleeping in the back of the truck.
Yeah. What was in Colorado? Just another vet thing?
It was, they used to have this thing, it was a Student Veterinary Medical Association convention.
Oh.
So it was like, it's just for students. You could go there, and they had talks on different things, and it was a way for all the drug companies to get their products out.
Yes.
Hey, you guys going to be out in the
you
real
ivermectin
world.
fans out there, this is
Start
where you
using
get your
this.
first dose.
Hey, yeah, and I did. I actually did some of the first research using ivermectin for a heartworm preventative for dogs. So we would. I had to write. I wrote a computer program that actually calculated the
heartworm is very important.
You'd give for the dog.
Thing
And
not to
then-
have.
For the study, you'd give them the preventative. You'd expose them to the preventative, and then you'd have to sacrifice the dogs. I mean, you're trying to use a nice word here, so it don't get banned off YouTube.
Sacrifice is a good word.
And then you had to dissect their pulmonary arteries to look for the worms. So you had to sit there and take every single artery with a pair of scissors and slice up it and see if you found a worm. So that was that's research there.
Yeah, and when you study finance, you don't have that. It's surprising. You'd think you would. That you study numbers. There should be some sacrificial person. You cut them open, cut up on their arteries, looking for worms. And no, they really didn't enforce that in finance. There's something about the non-medical aspect of finance.
Outside of the Nazis, I don't think they do that in people either. I don't think.
Well, I will say,
they.
If you compare the two industries, I think finance is pretty cutthroat. I mean, I've actually seen people eviscerated in front of a computer by their boss.
By their boss.
With scissors, cutting open their arteries, splaying them open, saying, "Make it balance. Make this spreadsheet balance." What do you mean it doesn't tie out? I'll kill you. I'll dismember you. Actually, all I remember is hating my boss so much when I went on that bike trip. And then as I'm riding, and again, people, if you're going to cross America, just reach out to me. I can help save you so much aggravation. Watch the news. Weather comes from the west to the east in America. Don't go against the weather. You want to travel your bicycle west to east.
Right. You got the wind at your back.
Right.
Most of the time.
All I ran into was people going the opposite direction, just being miserable for months. I'm like, yeah, the winds blow the other way. And they were the only people I met on bicycles were all bankers, all finance guys who couldn't take the month end and the quarterly audits. We had all quit our jobs for the same industry. I'm like, this is a sign that, this is not the place for me. Yeah, I did not have to justify why I quit everything. Everybody knew. They're like, oh, you're a finance guy? Yeah, keep right on riding, boy. You'll work it all out. But yeah, everybody went against the weather. I just couldn't understand it. So yeah, go for the Princess K of the Milky Way. It was very cool. Lot of candy. And again, I'm an old school guy when it comes to state fairs. This thing is kind of a modern thing. So they're trying to sell you brand new Hummers up there. There's a military sign-up booth, sign up for the Army. A lot of finger painting for the kids. A lot of you can wear a little pig hat, a little cow hat. A lot of 4-H. A lot of animals, and it's a state fair, man. For people who live in the big city, it is just really wild to see animals like that.
Yeah, everyone should go to the state fair. I think there's lots of things there, and if it's the only time you're going to see how your hamburger gets to McDonald's.
Oh, that is true. I would. The big thing that I thought was just hysterical. We're in the bovine room, and there is a judging for cows, right?
Yeah.
And so apparently when you're a cow guy, there's I think it's something to do with the tail, clearly, when the cow's about ready to let loose, and the guy runs up behind the cow with a bucket to catch it all.
Yeah.
Because they're only standing on straw, and he's got to live there all day long. So if he doesn't catch it, he's got to be shoveling it up later. So he actually caught it in this bucket.
You got to have fast reflexes to catch that, man, because they just...
Yeah, it was it was like one or two twitches, and I was like, "Whoop, we got to go," and they went. And,
now, here's an interesting fact. This will probably appeal to you because you're a numbers guy.
Sure.
So at the one state fair, they had a contest. Everyone had to try and guess the weight of this cow.
Yes.
So they get like a couple hundred guesses.
Right.
No one got the exact weight of the cow.
Okay.
But they averaged all the guesses together. It was the exact weight of the cow.
Wow. So half were above, half were below. Wow.
Right. Well, but there was enough.
There's a realm of
when you get enough people
actually
guessing, and most of these people knew about what this cow should guess, but they actually came up with the number as a group thing. So that's the power of statistics, being able to give you accurate data. That's what the statistics depend on, is this mean, this average. And just by taking, and they weren't necessarily random guesses, but they're just people guessing, hey, could be about 800, maybe it's 900.
Right, nobody's guessing like a pound, and then nobody's guessing 50 tons. So you throw that stuff out,
when they averaged all these guesses together, it was the exact weight of the cow down to like a tenth of a pound.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing.
Wow. I bet the cow felt good about that.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show. I mean, that's a numbers thing.
It is, and that's what and again. Here's your tie-in for that, Jim. Do you know what you call a doctor who finishes in the bottom half of his class?
Doctor.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah. That's the whole thing. It's the beauty part of it.
Yep.
You could be incredibly horrible lawyer, you're still a lawyer.
Well, my friend who's a lawyer, he says the guys in the bottom of his class are doing quite well. I go, oh yeah, is that Lerner and Rowe? He said, no, it's two other guys.
Well, and honestly, I think part of yes, because there's only so much room at the top, right?
Right.
So again, you're top of your class, you're top of this, you're top of that. What about everybody else? Somebody has to eat, somebody has to work.
There's a niche for everybody.
Exactly. You just have to find your niche. Now, obviously, it depends on, well, I'm sure, because like in sports, only whatever the top 5% make it, can actually make a living at this. The other 98%, are serving food at a rest stop or something, right? Whereas when you're a lawyer, there's work.
Yeah.
It's just that, it's more of a job, then it's less glamorous. You don't get invited to the Met Gala. You don't get to wear the designer clothes if you're not AOC, right? You're just a regular sloggy local Republican or Democrat. You're not going to get invited to the big galas and stuff, but there's still a place for you.
But you're going to be the guy. You're going to be the guy who does the wills, the guy who does the real estate stuff,
and you find a way to make your dough because, what you find out, whatever you may lack in individual, you make it up in volume. My mom, when she went, we got there was the Bohemian Whisperer, and so my mom was in her. She's in the hospice, and right at the beginning of hospice, so she was completely with it. And all of a sudden, we didn't have an estate set up. The call was placed. The Bohemian Whisperer came by. He had been setting up trusts for old Bohemians for his entire career. 16 signatures. I think I was actually at work, and the guy's talking to me on the phone. You got 7 documents here. Come by tonight, sign them, done. And we were done in 8 hours. It was done, minted, perfectly executed. Yeah, and again, you don't need the top of your class to do that. And this guy was making up in volume because this is all he did all day long was set up trusts for old Bohemians that were dying, and rock on. Flat feed us out. I think he did it for it was $800 or something.
That's affordable, man. For 8 hours work, you got a deal.
That wasn't 8 hours. I think it was 6 of it was waiting for me to get off work. I'm sure.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying is he boil played this thing out. You go from zero to an estate in one day for $800. Rock on, and it all worked. And it was genius.
That's the way to do it.
Because I think and that's like anything, like this house here. I mean, you can only have so much expertise. You can say I'm going to do it all myself, I don't care. I want to have knowledge. You can't possibly have all the knowledge of all the laws and all the intricacies of everything.
If you've got the time, you can learn it. You're not going to maybe do it as well as someone who's been doing it all their life, but you can maybe do an acceptable job. But you have to have the time.
Yes,
and you're paying money for time.
Yep.
And that's the decision people make all the time.
And right, and the problem is like, because I would always trust anybody that's in the industry, because things change every year, and they are vested in knowing those changes.
Right.
Like, I get a book out of the library that tells about the state law. If it isn't like 2021 minted like last week, it's out of date, and you'll be so assured, and you'll be wrong. And the only way you know is when they come to take all your cash.
Talk about it like in small business, man. Yeah. It's the same exact thing. We've got all these new things coming through. The minimum wage is always going up. You've got OSHA rules that change on you, and I'm not talking about vaccine stuff. I'm talking about just regular OSHA rules that someone comes through your clinic and says, "Hey, that bag of food shouldn't be sitting there. It's a hazard." You go, "Oh, I didn't even think about that. No one has tripped into that bag ever, but someone could."
Yeah.
And that's what these OSHA guys get paid to do, and they can say, if this cannot be a certain weight in a certain area or whatever, you have to have labels on every single bottle. If you've got a bottle of water, you have to have the label on there that says water.
Yeah.
Because someone might grab something, you know where it is and what it does, but someone else might not know. It's really detailed. And
it's all for our safety, for God's sakes. The only reason they exist is because people used to drink acid all the time.
They used to fall in pickle vats and all that.
Exactly. Was it a concrete jungle? Yeah, you're falling into the sausage. All of a sudden, hey, the sausage has a little taste like my neighbor.
But they could certainly make it easier for businesses to follow. That's my only thing is everything is now online. You don't actually you have to go and proactively seek this stuff out. No one's coming to you and saying, "Hey, we just published a new rule that's going to affect your business. Here it is. Here's what you need to do."
I'm surprised they don't just send you an update.
They don't. You have to go online and look for this stuff.
Wow, maybe that'll be my job. I'll be that OSHA guy.
Yeah, we actually had a consultant. He came in. He gave us a talk. He said, "This is how you have to cap needles. This is how you have to dispose of things. This is how you have to label things. This is how you have to restrain an animal." All these things were covered, and we go, "This is like a whole pile of stuff that you need to know." And it gets overwhelming at times. A lot of it is common sense. So I'd say 90% of it you could say.
Well, right. If you're conscientious, it's not like you're running a sweatshop. It's like you are actually a conscientious owner, and you care because I am fairly unregulated here on my front porch. I got to say, when I'm working here,
I don't think OSHA applies to you.
No, OSHA says be safe, and I just try. I try to comply. I've hurt myself out here, no doubt. But it's my own dumb luck, and Darwinian processes kick in.
Try and do a payroll on your own.
Yeah.
Without a payroll company to figure out the tax rates for everybody. You have to have a computer program now to do it. You look it up on a table.
Right.
And so they had published these tables that they'd send out to you. This is your tax table they're getting paid this much per pay period. This is how much tax you withhold for each of these things. Now it's all going to be on a computer. You have to submit on state unemployment, federal unemployment, workman's comp.
Yep.
It's crazy. Even for my little house call practice, I have my sons work for me. All this stuff has to be done. And I'm paying, $50 a month for the payroll company to do this, or a payroll. Maybe it's a month. And it's crazy, but that's what you have to do. And
many millions
added
have been
retirement plans, 401k, all this stuff. It just gets overwhelming. So, I got a few more years left of me, and then I'm.
Ain't that the truth, Jim? Can you imagine being 18 years old, knowing what we know now about everything we've seen in our lives, to know that this is how jacked up it is, and it's only going to get more complicated in the future? I'm so glad to be old. I really.
Well, there goes the freight.
Oh, that's a big one.
We made it 24 minutes up to the freight train.
Okay. It got a lot quieter once the
engine goes by. We got
that's what I always tell her. Once the engine leaves, baby, it's a lot quieter.
Here's the thing. I think the people when we look at my screen here, you can see the train reflected in the glass behind me. So we're not adding the train sound effect.
Right. This is not Choo Choo Charlie.
Some CGI maybe.
Right. If you've seen any of the Marvel movies or anything related to like Suicide Squad, this is not CGI. This is analog. This is real things happening.
I think we do need to talk a little bit about Suicide Squad. We're talking about it before the podcast.
Okay. I loved it. I don't know. Yeah, Jim and I do recall there being some pushback on it being like a vapid movie. I don't care. Vapid me any way you want. That movie was enjoyable.
The opening scenes where the first Suicide Squad goes out to the beach and the guy's sitting in the yard and he's killing a bird with. I mean, I was laughing so hard, and it just they did that movie so well.
Yes,
it rivals any of the Guardians of the Galaxies in my mind. It was one of the best DC universe movies.
It was very enjoyable. I am a proponent of the $5 Tuesday movies, so that was a $5 really well spent. I believe I had popcorn for that one, which also was a bonus. No, I had no problem with, and I kind of like that because the way they do this, where you're like interacting with the movie, or the cast of characters actually turns to you and starts, assuming that you'll have questions and they answer them for you. I find that very enjoyable.
Well, and I like that they use the same Harley Quinn actress that they did for Harley Quinn in her movie. What was that? Anyway, I like that one too. But she's talking about picking the wrong guy and looking for the red flags, and killing children is one of the red flags.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
I just can't understand the shark out of water, but that's me. I'm old, and that's a sticking point for me. But I got over it.
I guess the weasel bothered me more because I didn't understand what the heck was the weasel's power. And they said I guess he ate a bunch of kids or people or something. I don't know.
Well, but not to be a spoiler here, kiddies, but the weasel survives. So if you're gonna learn anything by seeing a movie, weasels are tough to kill. That's all I'm going to leave you with.
I just hope the weasel shows up in another movie.
Right. You'd hate to think a character with that much time invested, when he grabs your heartstrings and you get so invested in the weasel and then they take it from you. I hope they just don't toss that away. I want to see him reappear in another movie.
I'm mad that I did not go and see it again before we left the theater. When it comes out, I'm going to rent it. I'm going to watch it downstairs with my kids on the big screen. I'm going to invite the guys over. That's up there, my top 3 movies of the year. If it's nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture,
I don't know.
I'm
trying to think. I haven't seen. I've seen as many movies as the law will allow. I've actually watched some movies down in Mexico. I can't. Honestly, you're right. It's definitely top 5. I can't think of the other movies though. I've seen some really horrendous movies. There's a movie called The Greenland. Do not see this, people. Don't do it. Yeah. Gerard,
Depardieu?
No, not Depardieu.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
His last name's Gerard.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Please, I beg of you, save yourselves. Don't. It's so bad. You know what? I wish the weasel from Suicide Squad would have gone into that movie and ripped off Gerard's face. That would have completed everything. Would have made the whole movie worth watching. To watch him get eviscerated as the credits are rolling. That would have been worth the price of admission. Movies in Mexico are like $3.50 too. They're just for IMAX. It's beautiful. They price them for the economy because if they price it at $5, no one can afford it.
Well, the A-list from AMC is to me a good bargain. If I go see 8 movies a month,
right?
I'm paying basically what $2.50-$3 a movie.
Are there 8 movies a month to see?
Yes.
I mean, we've gotten that many so far. Okay.
Yeah, and I went to see a movie called The Card Counter, which you never heard anything about it. It was a Martin Scorsese produced film. It was no special effects. It was just this guy who was an interrogator in Iraq, goes on to play cards. He doesn't want to be anybody famous. He's really good at it. Runs into this kid who's in trouble. He wants to help him out. He enters the World Series of Poker Tour.
Oh, wow.
Does all this stuff. And then the kid goes off and screws his life off anyway. And it's one of those movies where it's not an action adventure. It's not a superhero movie. It's well written. The characters are just very stark characters. I mean, this guy had these quirks. When he would go into a hotel room, the thing he would do is he would take and cover everything with sheets and then tie everything up. So it was everything was covered in white sheets and tied with twine. And they never explained why he did this. It was like he was being prepared to like slaughter somebody in the room.
Yeah.
And at the end scene, you see, I won't put a spoiler out for that. It had Willem Dafoe in it. Willem Dafoe was very good. He was not like in it a major part of the time, but he made the movie. But it was just a very interesting thing. They had this Ukrainian card player who's Mr. USA, and he would show up in the poker scenes, and it was just very fun.
That movie, I don't think, because I look every week, that movie has not made it out to the classic cinemas for me to enjoy a $5.
It was there, so...
I might make it to the lake. I'll have to take a look.
So I can find 8 movies a month. And even if I only see 6 movies a month, it's still $4 a movie.
Jim, nobody looks at a bottom line like you do. And I think you are driven to see these movies because you have this pass. I am only driven by the $5, and it has to be at the right theater with the reclining seats, 100% heated. I have many requirements now. I had requirements I didn't even know existed, and now I do. Heated seats, full recliner. Now with COVID, they give you I think you get a space next to you open.
Yeah,
you're still in quarantine, and honestly, if it's not a Marvel movie, you go to see anything else. Like when I went to see the 10 Rings guy, there couldn't have been more than 4 of us in the theater to see the 10 Rings of Doctor.
And I probably would not have gone to see the card counter if I didn't have this A-list pass.
There you go. So it's driving. That's what they're hoping for.
It's getting me to see movies I wouldn't ordinarily get to see, which is kind of cool.
We're just lucky you've got the schedule that allows that to happen.
Yeah.
Lucky man.
Yeah, well, I'm getting towards the this time where I do, but if I make the time to do it, and it's usually I'm going to see like the 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock show. So I'm getting home at 12:30 at night.
He's dedicated to the arts, people. I'll tell you, I don't have that dedication. By 7 o'clock, I am on the couch. Laying sideways, watching Pluto, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Now, what I am disappointed in is there's none of the early shows, none of the 1 o'clock shows anymore.
Oh, that is a drag.
And there's a lot fewer show times now. They used to have like more 10, like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock shows.
Yeah.
When before COVID, so I'm hoping they'll get back to that more expansive.
I'm sure they are too. Point. It's they've got to be hurting bad.
But hopefully that'll come there. But it's a nice escape, and I love the superhero movies. But if I can go see a movie that I wouldn't ordinarily see, it's kind of nice to do that. There's one I'm looking forward to. It's about this girl who she travels back in time in her dreams, and then it becomes real. And it really looks.
Oh yeah, I did.
Got
see
the girl from
the
Queen's Gambit in it.
Yeah.
Have you watched Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
I have watched Queen's Gambit, and I got to tell you, yowza, awesome flick. I'm not really into chess. It almost inspired me to figure out chess.
You don't have to be in the chess to like it, which is really the
But it does help. But it does help. But yeah, no, I think, right, it's the way it was written. I think you'll learn enough about chess as it goes along. But
I do like that long format where you have 6 to 10 episodes of a series, and that's going to be it. You're not going to have, it's not going to come back for season 2, season 3. It tells a whole story arc in that time, and they can go into more detail. One of the things that people always say is the book was better than the movie. I think with these miniseries, now they can rival how good the book is because you can get all the backstory in.
I would agree. I watched this Netflix thing called Wu Assassin, 10 episodes.
Wu Assassin.
Wu Assassin, W-U Assassin.
Okay.
Typical ordinary short order cook in a Japanese restaurant. Figures out all of a sudden he bolt of lightning comes and he's got these ancient powers to kill these 5 guys, earth, fire, wind, all that, because it's going out fighting for the generations. Anyway, you get through 10 episodes and you finally get some closure, and then of course in the last 5 minutes where you're just expecting them to fade to black and say, well, that was an interesting story. We've got another assignment for you. And so, of course, season 2's coming. And, I thought, I may be a one-season kind of guy on something like that. Because the first season's great. I don't need to find he's fighting some other.
And that's the great thing about
World
Queen's
bosses.
Gambit. It's not a Queen's Gambit season 2.
Yes,
That's it.
yes.
That's the story.
Although I'm sure at some point they're going to want to cover the next year, but it's hard to do because she was so complete.
Well, and there are some stories. I think a second season is nice to have. Like, I think Ozark. I don't know if you've watched Ozark at all.
No, everyone has talked about Ozark and
It's in their final season's coming out, and they said limited. I think they said 4 seasons. We're gonna end it. But that was one where, I want more. You watch one season and go, I want more. They leave the cliffhanger going there. But when you can find a show that just goes for that short story arc, and some of those British ones are like 3 parts or 4 parts, but even 6 parts, I'm satisfied with that. And it just makes me feel so happy. So... But I think that's probably all we got time for today, Mark.
Probably. Again, enjoy the weather, folks.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah.
Hit the notification bell.
Tell your folks you found us.
Get vaccinated.
There you go.